Introducing Light My Bricks Hobbies. So today I'm going to be showing you the light pack for Mecha model kits. This will be great for anything from a Gundam to a Zoid or any kind of robot. So I'm going to be showing you an unboxing today, everything that's inside, as well as lighting up an actual Gundam model kit, and I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks along the way. All right, so let's start by checking out what we got inside the box. So when you open it up, you'll be greeted with all the components. First, we have yellow, perfect for those jetpacks or anything that's like a fiery kind of engine. We have micro bit lights. These are really good for all those tiny little details because these are our smallest lights. We got pink. This is great for those laser swords or any of those epic like trans pink wings. You have 2 bags of cool white, and this will just be perfect for any like interior details, maybe inside the face or inside the body. And if you put these behind any color, it'll bring out that color. Then we have the multi-effects board. This is a super cool board, and this will allow you to apply 3 different effects to any of the lights. So you could put a gun effect, flicker effect, or a pulsing effect. So you could use this throughout your model to give that really cool element to it. We have the micro expansion boards, and so these ones are specific to those micro lights that I mentioned earlier. So those will plug into this board. Then we have the 6-port expansion. So this one's for any of the standard lights. This one will run straight into this, as well as your power. We actually have 2 of those packs. So you have 4 6-port expansion boards total. Then we have 30-centimeter connecting cables, and these are fantastic for linking those boards together. You have some adhesive squares, and this will allow you to stick some of the lights into position. However, you could use some hobby glue or some sticky tape, whatever you're used to using. And then lastly, the most important one, the USB power cable. And this will allow you to run power to your kit. So that's everything that's inside the box. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring up a Gundam, and I'm gonna show you how to light it up. All right, so we've got our Gundam model right here. And this is the kit that we're gonna be lighting up today. This is a perfect grade Gundam, but you could light up a real grade or a master grade. This lighting kit will work for any of them. All right, so first of all, what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be focusing on these laser swords. So I've just pulled him apart now, just separated all of his gear so I can focus on this area. So I'm thinking pink lights for sure for this laser sword. So we got the pink bit lights here. So the great thing about these bit lights are they're so tiny that I'm able to just separate the hilt of the laser sword here, fit the LED right in between the gap there, and then just pin this back over the top. That's a perfect fit. All right, so I've put LEDs in both of these laser swords. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna get our 6-port expansion board. I'm gonna plug these in. I'll grab my USB as well, plug it into the exact same board, and I'll be able to do a power test just to see if I'm happy with the way these are looking. If they are, I'll continue on to the next step. So here's one of our 6-port expansion boards, and this component serves as the hub for all our lights. So I'm gonna plug these in now, then I'll grab my USB, plug it in as well, and we'll do a test. So I've got these all hooked up to my expansion board here. I got the USB as well into the same board. Now I'm gonna turn them on and we'll see what they look like. Perfect. Look at that. So they're looking super cool. I'm really happy with those. So I'm gonna move on to the next element now, which I think I'm gonna move on to his head as the next detail. All right, so I've managed to pull apart the Gundam head now. And what I found is there's a perfect cavity in the back there for me to put some bit lights in. I'm thinking just one will probably do the trick, but I might test 2 and see what that looks like. So let's do this now. I'm gonna be using cool white. So a really great tip when you're testing areas with the lights, plug them into an expansion board first and plug in your USB as well. And just do a light test and hold the LED in place instead of actually fixing it into position first. This will allow you to see whether your mounting position is actually gonna look as good as you're hoping it will. So I've lit this guy up now, little cool white. I'm just gonna hold it inside the head and have a look at what I think. So you can see there, it's lighting up the eyes perfectly. I might see if I can mount 2 in there just to really like enhance those eyes. So now that I've worked out the positioning of my lights, I'm gonna use some adhesive squares that are in the pack just to fix them into position. I've mounted the lights into the head here. So I'm gonna do a power test now to see if I'm happy with the look. That looks really cool. So what I did was I mounted one behind the eyes. So I only needed one to light up those eyes evenly. And then what I did was I actually introduced one more up the top there just to light up this crown feature at the top of his head. So it really takes him to the next level, those lights. Now I'm just threading the cables down the back of the Gundam here, just in between the backpack, just so they're a little bit more hidden. And I'll click the head back into place. So far we've lit up the head. I'm super happy with that. We got the laser swords here. They're looking super cool. I reckon the next thing I'm gonna try tackle is gonna be the jetpack here. So I'm gonna try add in some yellow lights at the bottom there. And I might even add a flicker effect to that, just to take it to the next level. So now that I'm working on this backpack and I wanna add those yellow lights in with that flicker effect that I mentioned, I'm gonna use obviously the yellow bit lights, but what I'm gonna use is this multi-effects board. This is that really cool board that I mentioned earlier that'll allow us to apply 3 different effects. And I'm gonna choose that flicker effect just to make make it look like there's burning flames inside the jetpack. So this is what the component looks like here. So you've got a switch on it that allows you to switch between the 3 different effects, as well as a dial here that can control the speeds. So if the flicker's a bit too fast, you can slow it down, or if that pulse needs to speed up or slow down, you can do the same. And the gun effect actually allows you to do different speed settings too. So you can go from like kind of like a shotgun look to like just a blaster. All right, so what I'm doing right now is I'm doing a light test for the jetpack. So like I said, I was gonna use those yellow bit lights, but what I didn't mention was how I was gonna mount them. So I ended up using a temporary solution here, which is the adhesive squares. So I've applied one adhesive square underneath, as well as the yellow light just on top of that. You could choose to glue this into place or perhaps drill into the backpack so you could thread that cable through. But the adhesive square works perfectly in this situation because once you turn it down, it's fully hidden, but you get that awesome flickering glow. So I'm gonna install the other one now. We'll turn it back around and we'll review where we're at. All right, here we go. So I installed both of those lights into the jetpack here, and you can see them there flickering away. They're looking really cool. I'm super stoked with those. You can angle the backpack up, you can pull it out. And what I noticed was when I was installing these was, I've got a perfect position back here for me to conceal my board. So what I'll be able to do is I'll plug everything into that one board. I'll show you a neat trick on how you can twist those cables together into a neat little bundle, and then we can store the board back there. So it's nice and hidden. So what I'm doing now is I'm just mounting the swords into position, and I'm routing the cables up the arm so I can get them to that cavity behind the backpack that I mentioned earlier. Then I can twist them all together and make them super neat. All the cables are super thin as well. So you could remove a couple of panels, tuck them underneath and clip them back over the top, no issues. And you'll have it looking super clean. You won't see any cables. So everything that I've lit up so far on the Gundam, I've attached to him now. So you've got the light up in his face there, just behind his eyes. You got one up in the crown here. I've added his laser swords now, mounted them into his hands, and I've routed the cable up the length of his arm, so they route to his backpack at the back. I've got the 2 flickering in his backpack there, looking really, really cool. So the next step, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to neaten those cables up at the back to mount behind the backpack. Just before doing that though, what I want to show you is how we can light up this blaster. Then we can pick whether we want to mount it with the gun or with the 2 laser swords. So I created a small hole in the barrel of the gun, but what I found was when I tried to mount these yellow bit lights in, that they're slightly too big, and these are already really tiny. But what we have in this set is even smaller lights. So we have our micro bit lights, and these are going to be perfect for this. So I'll show you right now just how small they are. So here they are here. So they're a tiny little LED. I'm just holding it here against my thumb so you can see. It's super duper small. And now with the hole that I've drilled, I'll be able to slide that LED straight through. So you can see here, it'll go right through the barrel of the gun now. All right, so I finished installing the micro bit light into the gun, and I've just threaded the cable around the back here. But what makes the micro bit lights different to our normal bit lights is that you have to pair them with the micro expansion board. This one's slightly different because it has a very different port on it. And it's important that it pairs with this part. So what we'll do now is we'll plug that light into this micro board, and then we can attach that to the rest of our system with a connecting cable. We can do a light test to see how it's looking. All right, so what I've done now is I've attached that micro bit light into the micro expansion board, and then with a connecting cable, I've linked that across into our multi-effects board, and I've flicked it over to the gun effect, and check it out. It's looking pretty cool. So now I have a choice though. So I can either display my Gundam with the 2 laser swords, which I think looks pretty epic, or I could pose him with the gun and 1 laser sword. I'm thinking I'm gonna go with the 2 laser swords, but I just wanted to show you guys that you could light up the gun this easily as well. So we're gonna set this one aside, and I'm gonna continue with everything else I've got on the Gundam so far. So as you can see here, I had a bit of a change of heart. I decided to go with the gun. I thought it was too cool to pass up. So what I've done is I've swapped it over. So he's holding the gun now. I've routed the cable down the back of his arm. And what we're gonna do is, because it's running to this micro expansion board, I'm gonna apply some adhesive squares, and I'm actually gonna inside the shoulder pad, just back here, so it's hidden, and then I can run that connecting cable into our 6 port that'll be mounted behind the backpack. So I've got my lights all hooked up to my expansion board at the back, but as you can see, there's a lot of excess cable there. So I'm gonna show you a really quick tip as to how you can neaten those up by bundling them into a small pile. So basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna pull them out and pinch them. So you've got a nice little neat lasso like this. Then you can give them a twist and just keep twisting them all the way until they're in a neat twisted line. So you'll end up with something like this. Then you can fold it over on itself, twist it again. So now this is looking a lot neater. You can even fold it once more, twist it even more until you end up with something really small like this here. Then we can tuck it just back behind the backpack, seal this guy back up, and your cables will look a lot neater. But what I need to do is, I'm not finished yet, I still need to connect one more connecting cable to another board. That'll allow me to add more lights into the chest. Then I'll finish neatening it all up, and we'll look at the final product. So this is the last detail I plan to add into the Gundam. I've removed the front chest plate, and what I've done is I've mounted 2 cool white lights in there, just with these adhesive squares. So you can see right here, that's how I've mounted them, nice and simple. And this will be the last thing that I pin on the front, route to the back, plug into the last 6-port expansion board, connect in the power, clean it all up, and it'll be done. I'll show you the finished result really soon. So there we have it. Our perfect grade Gundam is all lit up, and I'm super stoked with how he turned out. I did change it towards the end, and I kept the gun instead of the dual swords, so I could have that really cool gun effect. Because of that, I've taken away the flicker in the backpack, and I've just kept him static. Of course, this Mecha kit can work for any Gundam, like I mentioned earlier. As you can see here, I also lit up a small real grade Gundam as well. So the light kit works for any scale, which is super cool. We have heaps more hobby kits available online, so jump onto our website, check them out, as well as DIY components. Plenty of different boards with different effects so you can achieve the lighting that you want.